the Radio Today podcast with Jen Seyderhelm.
Hi and welcome. In this episode, Ben, Liam and Belle to depart the Nova Network, Hamish and Andy aloft the August podcast ranker with some aces for the ABC, LiSTNR and Audacy form a podcast partnership, the ACMA find Marty Sheargold and Burt in breach of classification and decency rules, Archie and Bretz take on mixed drive on the Sunshine Coast and other movements, and the National Radio Airplay Chart Song of the Week. Nova's networked Late Drive program, hosted by Ben, Liam and Belle, that's Ben Harvey, Liam Stapleton and Belle Jackson, will air for the last time on Friday, December 12. The trio had only moved back to broadcast nationally from Ben and Liam's hometown of Adelaide a month ago. Ben, Liam and Belle were hosting breakfast on Nova 100 Melbourne before being replaced by Jason Lauren and shifted to Late Drive after Kyle and Jackie O were announced to be taking over KISS 101.1 breakfast. They've rated well, and the move to Adelaide appeared to allow Ben and Liam to be closer to extended family, with Ben having 2 young children. The final program will air between 6 and 8 p.m. This looks the start of the end-of-year radio switching of seats. Since the long-running Smallsy's surgery also wrapped up in August, Kent Smallsy Smalls network show following after Late Drive, weeknights on the Nova Network are going to look very different in 2026. The August Triton Australian podcast ranker is reflective of the time of year, with in the top 20 sports podcasts like SEN Breakfast and Dan Does Footy, 6 daily news series, and Hamish and Andy number 1 still with a lighter look on life. News was the top genre with more than 5 million monthly listeners. ARN iHeart reached 7.7 million monthly listeners and more than 24 million monthly downloads. LiSTNR with nearly 10 million monthly, and the ABC with 3.2 million listeners. Within, there are always some more interesting changes and movements. The Hedley Thomas-led News Corp and Nova investigative true crime podcast about missing mum Bronwyn Winfield wrapped up for the foreseeable future in August after 18 months and, unfortunately, unresolved. As a result, the podcast was up 41 places to 22 with nearly 500,000 monthly downloads. Mia Friedman, co-founder of Mamma Mia, announced a long service leave from Mamma Mia Out Loud, number 3 on the ranker, in August, and handed the No Filter reins to Kate Langbrook at the start of February. The latter was up 9 places and back into the top 20 in August. The former was steady with an additional 50,000 monthly listeners, hoping that allows Mia to enjoy a well-earned break. Another to pick up new listeners is ABC Conversations at number 5. It is the most downloaded of all, with 2.8 million last month and with 449,000 monthly listeners, up 70k on July. This can be attributed to the show's 20th anniversary, which has seen hosts Richard Feidler and Sarah Konoski taking it on tour of Australia. The results speak for themselves and are its highest ever monthly audience. A side effect of all these shows picking up new listeners and additional monthly downloads is that Abby Chatfield's It's a Lot dropped 3 places out of the top 20 while still picking up additional herself. Finally, the Mushroom Case Daily from the trial, which the ABC was covering, it wrapped up, and the series is now called The Case Of, which sat at number 6. September's ranker will also be the first to feature the suite of Audacy podcasts after their partnership with LiSTNR. Southern Cross Oz Stereo, SCA and Audacy, the US-based audio content and entertainment company, announced a partnership where LiSTNR will now provide sales representation and distribution for Audacy's suite of more than 300 podcasts for the Australian market. Audacy also has over 200 radio stations in 45 markets in America. Titles include Office Ladies with Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsley, Fly on the Wall with David Spade and Dana Carvey, Search Engine, The Moth, and many more through the aligned CBS Sports and CBS News and Entertainment. The edition of Audacy's podcast slate gives LiSTNR now over 800 podcast titles from leading Australian and global creators. The Australian Communication and Media Authority, ACMA, has found comments broadcast on the Marty Sheargold show about women's sport have breached decency rules, and Weekend 4BC host Paul Burt breached classification rules during the broadcast of a fishing show on Channel 7 Sydney that included highly inappropriate comments about domestic violence. The first investigation found that Triple M Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast and Maryborough, who were all syndicating the Marty Sheargold show, contravened the Commercial Radio Code of Practice by allowing derogatory language and sexist themes perpetuating stereotypes of women's behaviour to be broadcast on the programs. SCA mutually agreed to part ways with Sheargold following the comments. The second ACMA investigation found that the comments, made during an episode of Step Outside with Paul Burt, broadcast on 7mate in March 2025, breached the Commercial Television Industry Codes of Practice classification rules for PG content, which requires themes of domestic conflict to be handled with care. Step Outside airs on 4BC from 6 till 8 a.m. on weekends. The ACMA is currently considering appropriate enforcement action for both, which it will publicly announce the outcomes of once finalised. Some movements. After 17 years, with the last 2 as Head of Digital Content and Innovation, Angela Stengel has departed the ABC. Angela has overseen and been part of the biggest period of change and development the broadcaster has experienced. She watched podcasts emerge and then launched ABC Listen, the creator program, ABC Queer, as well as being part of the first innovation division and producing content for the earliest days of the ABC's social accounts. SCA have appointed Ed Kirkwood as Content Director for B105 in Brisbane. This is a return to SCA for Kirkwood, where he had worked as senior producer for Fox FM and Today FM in Melbourne and Sydney. Most recently, Kirkwood was content lead at ARN for the KISS Network's national drive shows, overseeing Will and Woody, Zach and Dom, and The Pickup. He was with ARN 5 years and commences the new role on Monday, October 13. And Archie, Sam Aronson, and Henry Bretz have been announced to replace Todd and Sammy on the Sunshine Coast 92.7 Mix FM Drive. The pair have worked together before, winning Best Comedy Segment at the 2024 Australian Commercial Radio Awards, the ACRAs, while at Power 100 Townsville. Around the same time, Bretz left to try his luck in the UK, and Archie was joined by Donnie on Breakfast until the pair jumped over to Star 106.3 at the start of March. They've been making great content together, including the current Archie and Donnie's Locked Away for 10K, but now ARN will be seeking a replacement, and Archie and Bretz are reunited to bring their freewheeling, friendly and unpredictable style to the Sunshine Coast from early November. Wrapping up the RCS Media Monitor's National Radio Airplay Chart Song of the Week from Kelly Holiday, the solo project of Peking Duck's Adam Hyde. Dancing 2 has been backed strongly by 104.1 Today FM and Triple J with 700 spins over the last fortnight.
I was looking for the kingdom of clowns and fools till I saw your face in that crowded room. And you were dancing and I was dancing too.
And that's it for me. I'll catch you next time.
Yeah. I was dancing too.
Radio Today with Jen Seyderhelm. Find more at radiotoday.com.au.
radiotoday.com.au